All right, of course, I'm a few minutes late, but I'm here. I'm here. Let's see who comes in. If the YouTube notification will get sent out, I'll wait like a few seconds. Let me know when you come in how you're doing today. Oh, my gray hair is just graying today. Let's see who comes in. Let me know how y'all are doing. I'm excited to chit chat with you guys today. Um, the challenge is like finally over. I feel like a lot of people, this was probably their last wash day, or maybe last week was their last wash day. Or maybe some people are still in the process of the hair challenge. So let's see if somebody comes in because, the notification takes a few seconds. So let's see. And let me know how y'all are doing when you do log in today. Oh, I see someone is here. Say hello. Let me know how y'all are doing. And oh, my watch is like my Apple Watch is dying. Let me know. I see somebody's here. So hello, hello. Thank you for joining today. If you're not familiar, we're just finishing up our Ayurvedic challenge. Oh, hi Amber. She says, hey, I'm great. How are you? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I actually was taking a little nap earlier and needed a little bit longer just to rest up a little. A few more people have joined. That's good. It's Sunday. It's finally actually getting a little bit warm today, so I'm excited. Oh, hi Danielle. She says, "Hey, I'm new here. Hi, well, welcome. Join, and thank you for joining us today." Um, Literally, this is like the wrap up of our Ayurvedic challenge, which started literally December 31st, and it ran all the way up until I should say last week, but technically to this week, and there's probably a few more people who are still on the challenge. Hey Frida, she says, "Hey dear," she said, "That's good, me too." That's good, good. So literally, it's just a wrap up. I really want to come on and do a little chit chat with you guys, see how everyone was doing, see how everyone's hair is doing. A lot of people left a lot of positive messages on at the end of the video, the YouTube video that I posted this past week of just about how their hair was like flourishing. A lot of people mentioned that this was like their first challenge that they did, and they really saw the benefits of it for their hair. A lot of people told me that they saw less shedding. A lot of people saw some new growth. Also, just like consistency with having their hair become healthier, more moisturized. A lot of times, when you don't have a consistent routine or a consistent schedule, and you're kind of just doing things whenever, we fall into habits of not keeping our hair moisturized. So the challenge really does help to keep us on track. Hey Tiffany, hey Diane, hello, welcome. So if you feel free, listen, if you want to share, I know I keep asking, but if you feel free to share your wins that you have with your hair for the challenge. Outside of that, and I mentioned in my last video, outside of having the benefits of hair growth, right? I just feel like my hair always thrives so much from after doing a challenge and this was probably one of the longer challenges. Usually I do like 12 weeks at most. I think this one ended up being around like 14, maybe even 15 weeks based off of, the time period because it was December 31st until like March 31st, and some people are still on the challenge. So, I always say thank you for joining, and I hope you learned something new. And if you haven't watched the wrap up video, I honestly encourage you to watch the wrap up video because outside of maybe you didn't watch every last video I did during the actual challenge, but it gives you a summary of everything that we talked about. And usually I try to do at least 2 weeks focus on hair growth, 2 weeks on scalp care, 2 weeks on fighting hair loss, at least 2 weeks on strengthening herbs and strengthening hair mass and all that other stuff. So I just highly encourage you, especially if you're new and even if you're not new to hair care, but maybe new to my channel, like a summation of what we kind of discussed during these challenges. Tiffany says my hair retains so much length. I love to hear it. Mine did too, and I'm actually due for another little bit of a trim. I see some of my ends just looking a little bit scraggly, but it's good to keep yourself on a good hair growth and trim cycle, wash cycle, cleanse cycle, deep condition cycle. So I love that your hair retains so much length. So did mine, and I will say, doing that nice cut before really helped me to give my ends a nice fresh start and then just retain pretty much everything. Amber says, hey, girlfriends. Hey, dear. Dan says, I missed the challenge. Listen, it's okay. Listen, we do challenges, Danielle, periodically on my channel. You can also feel free to go back and do the challenge. There are weekly videos that I post. I try to stay 1 week ahead of everyone. So I post every week and I teach you everything you need to use if you're going to be using like the gloss bars or whatever. If you don't have any of the products that I recommend, you can also do DIY hair masks or DIY oil treatments. I try to offer some DIY options. Even if you don't necessarily have my products, and I also give you options if you have products that currently work for you, right? One of the biggest things that's important for me is like sticking and doing what's best for your hair. And I always tell people you don't always have to buy something new because sometimes we got a ton of products at home, and I was an OG product junkie. So like I understand just making sure you're utilizing them in the right way. And if you can do some hair masks, like the addition of like buy the herbs on Amazon and mix your own hair mask. I think it's also important because I do think having some form of Ayurveda or herbal. I'll say this. I'm going to start classifying more into like just herbal medicine because yes, we do a lot of Ayurvedic herbs, obviously, but again, a lot of these herbs are also very interchangeable. Like I said, a lot of these herbs are Indian, but they're also African, and like moringa, neem, fenugreek, henna. They come across multiple cultures, right? And so I think it's important to be inclusive of that. Um, and I also just again using these herbs consistently, I've seen results. Let's see who else says. M. Sanders says, my hair is so much thicker. Thank you for what you do. You're welcome. You're welcome. Juju said, just showing love real quick. It's free. Hit the like button. Yes, thank you. Definitely hit the like button. It definitely helps also to send it out that the information is something you guys are interested in watching and seeing, and maybe more people will join our chat. Tiffany says, I also need a trim. Yeah, I think that's a good, like, honestly, for me, I've noticed a right around 4 months mark, and I do used to do quarterly trims, which um go ahead and get that nice little trim. I know we just grew, like if you're me, I probably grew about 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit more in some areas. Go ahead and give yourself a nice, even if you do like a heavier dusting or a light dusting, to light to heavier dusting, I think it's important. Just make sure when you retain that length, we want to make sure if those ends are a little bit raggedy or a little bit split, go ahead and get rid of them so we can continue retaining maximum length. Because think about it, like if you trim off that 1/4 to 1/2 inch now, and you grow 1/2 inch a month, you'll get that back by the end of this month, and then you'll continue growing forward. You don't have to worry about snagging. You don't have to worry about split ends that are causing that. You don't have to worry about fairy knots that just, tie up on each other and cause more damage. So I'll definitely be doing a trim. I actually just ordered some new scissors, some new hair scissors. So like mine were dull and I had sharpened them before, but it's just time. And it's okay. It's time for new scissors. Get some new scissors. I want them nice and sharp. And I'll probably be doing, well, actually, if you don't know, I'm going to come back to the chat in 1 second. I am going to be starting this week the Chinese herbs. So if you watch the video I did, oh, I guess now it's probably like December because we did the whole challenge. I did a video called 15 Herbs for Hair Growth. And I did 5 Ayurvedic herbs, 5 African herbs, and 5 Chinese herbs in those videos. So, of course, as I mentioned on my channel, we pretty much have done, not all, because there are a ton of herbs out there, but the majority of the herbs for Ayurvedic and African herbs that have hair growth. And so I really want to kind of dive into some of the Chinese herbs. Excuse me. And so I'm excited because we're actually going to do that this week. I have the herb called Foti, Foti. There's a couple of names for it, but that is the first herb I'm going to be trying in the Chinese series, and I'm excited to kind of like experiment with that, learn that, share that with you. I'll probably be using that herb over the course of the next 3 weeks. So doing like a hair mask, a hair tea, a hair oil, seeing how it feels, seeing how my hair likes it, seeing how my hair responds to it. Is it gritty? Is it grainy? Like I'm excited to kind of like explore that new journey with you guys. And then going on the next like 5 herbs that were in that series that I did for you guys back in December. So just exploring, experimenting. You guys know I have my own hair care line, and this is also how I learn about new herbs and create new products, or maybe even make some products better, right? or maybe make oils better, or learn how to make new gloss bars with different products, because as I experiment, as I learn and grow, I always like to share that information and knowledge with you guys, whether we do DIY treatments or whether we actually, ends up becoming a product that I end up selling. All right, let me go back to the chat real quick. Juja says, I just found your page this week and subscribed. I was about to look up on YouTube how often hair like ours should be oiled. Then I seen you. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I will say this, hair oiling is going to be different a little bit for everybody, right? So everyone's hair has different hair needs. So some people have drier scalps. Some people have scalps that are more prone to like dandruff, right? Or like buildup. And so I would say it also is going to be dependent on what you're doing to your hair and how often you're also shampooing and conditioning your hair. So I did a video at the beginning of this challenge called, I think it was week 2 in this challenge, and it was about scalp sebum, right? And one of the things about scalp sebum is it's so unique, right? And scalp sebum contains like triglycerides and certain levels of fatty acids. And it was like 4 separate components. I cannot think of every component, like waxy esters, triglycerides. I don't have it, but if you watch that video, it has all 4 components or 4 or 5 components that are made up of scalp sebum, right? And so there are different oils that have different properties, right? So every oil is not the same. We know some oils that are actually have a smaller fatty chain, and they actually penetrate deeper because their fatty chain is smaller, so it can penetrate deeper into the hair strand or deeper into our scalp and provide maybe more nourishing properties or more sealing properties. And then there are oils that have a longer fatty chain that tend to sit on top of our scalp and sit on top of our hair. Each oil has its own beneficial properties and its own unique benefits. And I go through in that video list of oils that contain each of these different properties, right? So I highly recommend you check out the video. I think it's week 2 of the challenge. But I would say, honestly, depending on if your scalp tends to be dandruff prone, I wouldn't necessarily recommend oiling your scalp regularly. I would recommend oiling your scalp maybe prior to shampooing as part of like a pre-poo process, right? So pre-pooing can also help you with, if the shampoo is a little harsh on your hair, it can help you to not strip the hair as well. It can also prevent high growth fatigue, which again, when you shampoo your hair does a swelling process and all that. So it depends on. But if you're someone who's oiling for like hair growth, right, and you don't necessarily have any outside skin or scalp conditions, I would recommend oiling your scalp maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I sell I have an oil for hair loss, basically to help fight and prevent hair loss, that DHT hair loss in particular. I have some that help to stimulate hair growth, and then some that help to fight scalp issues like dandruff, dermatitis, and all that. These oils are not just regular oils. These oils are herb infused oils, right? And they're infused with herbs that either, again, help fight hair loss or help stimulate hair growth. Just different factors. All of the oils that I have also all contain neem, because neem has like antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial properties. And it's really important, I will say, even when you're putting on your scalp, to make sure we keep bacteria and fungus at bay at minimum. So using herbs that have those anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antimicrobial properties is key, which is why there's always neem at like the base of all of my oils, because whether we're using them weekly or we're using them 2-3 times a week, I want to make sure we help to keep bacteria and fungus at our scalp at bay, because again, that's actually what causes severe dandruff and causes severe issues. And so just, I'm talking a lot. I'm saying a lot because there's a lot. Sometimes just giving you a one answer is not always necessarily the easiest thing, but just helping you to understand that there's a reason why I wouldn't just recommend to say oil your scalp once a week or oil your scalp 2 times a week, right? It also depends on if you have a lot of sebum production. So I shampoo. I'm reading here. I'm going to read what you just said. I shampoo weekly because I work out and I'm a head sweater. And so I don't mind necessarily maybe oiling my hair midweek, knowing that I'm going to shampoo my hair at the end of the week. And so that way I don't have too much buildup on my scalp. I have eczema. I have eczema prone skin. I know it doesn't look like it, but Using also Ayurvedic herbs helps with all of this. But doing that for me is optimal, but doing more would actually just cause too much buildup, too much itchiness, and then probably trigger and flare up some of my eczema type issues. So I'm more of a like one and maybe two times a week. I generally also pre-poo before I shampoo my hair. So I generally pre-poo with one of my oils. So I still getting all those benefits. I'm gonna go read to some of the comments you're saying, and then I'll try to answer that as well. Um, I'm gonna finish up Juja's comments, and then I'll go back to you, Danielle. She said, I shampoo once a month. I like different braid designs. Usually keep them in for 3 weeks. Okay, you have a lot of knowledge. I notice my hair eats a lot of oil. I like organic products. I don't use any alcohol oils or African Jamaican all natural hair oil. Only African Jamaican all natural hair. And that's really good. I think honestly, like using what you know your hair likes is good. When people don't tell me that their hair eats up oil a lot, it also tends to tell me that your scalp is probably a little bit dehydrated. So before you use any type of oils on your scalp, I'm going to recommend using some type of spritz or spray on the scalp first, because that sounds to me that your scalp is probably a little bit dehydrated. And especially if you're using braids, I know a lot of braiders, if you're wearing cornrows or braids, a lot of braiders use that like gel and they create like, these perfectly bomb, parted parts, but also sometimes it can make your scalp either itchy or very dehydrated because of the products that they're using. So I would recommend actually making yourself a scalp care tea. So if you look at week 14, I think week 14 on the videos that I have, and it's the scalp care tea, I would recommend you using the scalp care tea, which is basically, it's a traditional blends tea that has like echinacea, chamomile, peppermint, yarrow, basically herbs that have like antifungal, anti-itch properties, and help to remove oil, like excess oil and buildup without like dehydrating the hair. And then you add a teaspoon of glycerin or honey, if you have that, to the tea mixture, and then you spray that on your scalp before spraying the oil. What you'll find is your hair will probably stop eating up this oil so much, and your hair will actually become more hydrated. Your scalp will become hydrated. One of the properties actually found in our hair sebum is actually glycerol, which is glycerin, which is a humectant, and humectant helps attract that water and moisture to your hair and scalp, right? So it is fine to use glycerin on your scalp. And so using that hair tea that already has the antifungal, antibacterial properties with the glycerin will help attract that moisture. And then you're going to use your oil to seal that in. After you spray that spray, you'll use the oil to seal that in. Again, you'll find you probably will need to use less oil less frequently, and your hair will actually stay hydrated for longer. And your scalp will be hydrated for longer. That's one of the biggest things when it comes to wearing braids. My natural hair only says I'm a dude. Oh, sorry. my bad. You're so on point because I noticed when I use water as a conductor, it did work. Yes. So use you can use water, but make sure you use something humectant based with the water, because water is a great it's a great base, but the best thing you can do is a humectant with the water. So like if you have 8 ounces of water or 8 ounces of a tea, right? Even if you have raw herbs, boil it, make a tea with it, get a tablespoon or a teaspoon of glycerin to that, and then spray that on your scalp before using the oil, and you should be fine. Like you'll notice your hair and your scalp will improve over time. All right, let me go back and I'm going to answer some questions. And if you have anything else, you can feel free to drop it in there. Danielle says, I've been washing my hair weekly, 7 to 10 days, and I've noticed a difference. Do you only dust when you have those fairy knots? I dust periodically. I would say even in the midst of this challenge, I probably dusted on weeks like 5 or 6 when I had a little bit of fairy knots. But I try to do my trims every 4 months or so, right? Which again aligns for me right now with doing the trim, which I noticed that it wasn't a lot. And I think this is like the key is also like getting it before the splits get massive or before the single strand knots get out of control. And it's also for me because I also have very fine strands, and the strands love to just knot up on each other. And also doing styles like this that I have my hair in, even though right now like I haven't left my hair out that long, doing styles where I wear my hair out, the knots love to just form on. You see this, like, they love to form on itself like this. And I'm at a point where I'm about to trim, so I'm not necessarily highly concerned about it at this point. But about every 4 months I'll do a trim, and I'll do a light dusting probably around 6 to 8 weeks to get rid of any fairy knots. And that just happens. It's not even like an all over perfect dusting, but it's like, let's say I'm styling my hair and I notice I feel like a little knot or two, or I'm detangling my hair sometimes, like when I'm pre-pooing my hair and I notice like a couple fairy knots, I'll just get the scissors and snip it right off. I don't need to wait for the knot to get worse and then I'm in the shower ripping through massive amounts of hair. Danielle, I also have very fine strands. I have a lot of hair, right? But I have very fine strands. And so fine strands are more prone to doing to having fairy knots. Fine, I would say even up to medium to have fairy knots. So just make sure you keep your hair as stretched as possible. If you see my wash days, I tend to wash in very large twists. You might need more twists depending on the length of your hair, but that definitely will help aid in like minimizing the fairy knots and minimizing how often maybe you need to trim your hair. Wearing your hair, if you know, in loose styles that are shrunken, like my hair is very shrunken right now, is a catalyst for creating knots. But again, if you do it for 1 or 2 days, you'll probably find like me, it's only been a couple days. So I'm going to make sure I detangle my hair. Obviously, I'm going to be filming today anyways for Tip Tuesday. So yeah. But that's my schedule. I will say this: if I'm doing my hair and I feel a couple knots and sometimes they hinder me from really trying to do this style, I will just snip the knots off. Like, don't be afraid. Make sure you have good sharp scissors that you're only using for your hair. You're not using scissors you find lying around the house. You want the sharpest scissors as possible when you're gonna do a light dusting or a trim for your hair. And okay, let's see. Oh, Cinnamon Delight says, "Hi, Michelle. I love the shampoo bar." Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. Answer. Okay. Esther says, "Hi, Michelle. My hair is loving your products. It's softer and less breakage and shedding. That's a plus. Thank you for your knowledge and experience. God bless." Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I literally love to hear that. Like, that is what brings me the most happiness, because like I feel like we're all on this journey, and a lot of times we didn't really learn how to take care of our natural hair. And there's a lot of information out on the internet, and there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. And hair care doesn't have to be as complicated as sometimes we make it. And so, finding products that work for you, I love it. Let's see. I said, "Hi, Michelle. My hair is loving." Okay, I just answered that. Danielle says, "Do you have residue from the gloss bars? I've been having little particles left in my hair. How do you get rid of it?" So it depends on the gloss bar, and it also depends on your hair. But I would recommend just a co-wash. Like, if you do like if you're rinsing out the conditioner bar, try a co-wash, and just make sure when you're rinsing it out, you're rinsing it out in sections. So I like to part my hair into sections, like when I'm doing any type of style, rinsing, applying the gloss bars. If you notice, I'm always starting generally from my hair was in like large twists. Now the twists obviously get lost when I'm rinsing out products and stuff, but I make sure, like, let's say I'm rinsing out any gloss bar. So now some gloss bars, I will say that some herbs are grainier than other herbs are. I try to find the best, but it doesn't matter. Some herbs are more coarse, as the word I want to get, more grainy than others. So some obviously will stick a little more than others will. So if you're finding like certain gloss bars a little bit more grainy, I feel like one of them, I can't remember now if it's the Brahmi or the Bring Raj, one of those herbs is grainier than the other herb is. And so if you're finding that it sticks in your hair, I recommend just getting the deep conditioner, any conditioner, honestly. It doesn't even have to be like a deep conditioner, any conditioner, and just making sure when you rinse it out, you section your hair off into like 5 or 6 parts, and then just run like the conditioner and the water through the hair so that it can rinse all the way through. And let me know if that works for you. Let me see here. Emma says, "Hello, dear. Hello, family. Hi, how are you?" Dimensions by Gina says, "Hey there. I know you have come out with some new products recently. Do you think you will ever come out with a cream gel or gel? Yes, I'm actually back to working on a gel. So I will be coming out with a gel soon. It'll be part of the hibiscus and shea butter line. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm just you know what it is? I'm trying to make sure that the gel works very well with the other products and doesn't cause flaking, right? And so playing with that has been the fun the fun thing. But yes, other than that, if I do make a gel, maybe I won't make a gel that's part of the hibiscus line. Maybe I will make a gel that works well with everything, but I'm trying to make a gel that works well with especially the styler. So the styler has already a bit of hold in it. I don't know if you know, but my hibiscus and shea butter styler has a bit of hold. Um, but somehow when I mix it, it's odd. Like I tried it with Eco Styler gel, right? I'm obviously trying with other gels, and as I'm in the process of learning what gels mesh well, reading through ingredients, finding out why gels work well, why gels don't necessarily work well without creating massive amounts of flakes in your hair. So it's just playing around. It's playing around with that process, but I'm definitely working on something for you guys, and I'm trying to work on a gel that's better for like some for edges and then some for like just like a style that you're doing, like a twist out or to create additional hold. But thank you for asking. Yeah. I'm always in the process of learning and creating and learning and creating. And because I'll tell you this, because I'm trying to stick with like mostly all natural products, it can be a process. And anyone will tell you honestly, when you formulate products, it's just a process. um but yeah, but stay tuned. Stay tuned. Danielle says, yes, my hair is so fine. It makes me so upset, but I love it though. Yeah. Sis, I tell you, the joke they have about fine hair disappearing in light, and I'm laughing because I'm like by the window. So like my hair will like disappear in the light because I just have fine strands, and you like learn to like deal and manage with your hair and your fine strands, and you try to find styles that actually work for you. And I will be as thankful as I can because while my strands are fine, I do have a lot of hair. There are people who have fine strands and have thin or low density. And I couldn't imagine what that struggle is. Everyone has their own hair struggles. Like, don't get it twisted. No one, I'm sure there's someone out here who has the most perfect hair and they're just like, I don't have no hair struggles, but majority of us, it's always something, right? And so like for me, I know doing certain levels of twists don't look good in my hair. Like I can't do that. But you know what looks really good on my hair? Like bomb updos, which is why y'all see me do updos all the time based off the density of my hair. It looks good, right? So just finding things that work for your hair type. So it's always a give and go. But yes, I wish like people in my family have actually like medium to coarse strands, and they can get away with murder. But my fine strands, I can't do the same things they can do. But you know what? My hair is also very unique. It can do a lot of things that their hair can't do. So, enjoying what you have. It was the same here with the fine hair. Love those fairy nuts. Yeah. Mine does too. I'll tell you, them fine strands, even when you try your best, the fairy knots and fine strands, it just seems like they're like BFFs. And so, trying to keep it stretched, as I mentioned before, and trimming dusting when you need. Don't be afraid to get them scissors out, get those knots while you're doing the style so it doesn't just create more damage. Uh, Patricia says, "Hey Michelle, I'm waiting for my order to arrive." Oh yay! I'll be sending out more orders soon. I've been really working on trying to get everything out. Which, by the way, I'm actually having. I didn't mention this before. I'm actually going to send out an email. Maybe I'll do it on Monday. I think that's probably a better day to do it. But I'm actually, if you're in the Philly-ish area, I'll be this Saturday. I'll be doing melanin market, the melanin market. That is Saturday, and it's basically all of it's like not just hair care, it's like all black, and I would say melanated, obviously melanated people are going to be at the PA Convention Center, and it's like all day, things like 10 to 8. I'll be vending there, and I'll actually also be going back to Atlanta. I'll be doing the World Natural Hair Show in Atlanta again this year, which is April 20, what is it? 7th and 28th. So I'll be in Atlanta. I will send out an email with all the details of like where you can find me. And then probably tomorrow, honestly, tomorrow I'll send out an email. So I'll be in the Philly area this week. I live in Philly, but I'll be in Atlanta at the end of this month for the World Natural Hair Show. So I'm excited again. It just means I'm going to be very, very busy. So I'm trying to get as many orders and everything out as soon as possible. So stay tuned, y'all. Stay tuned. Anita says, hello, so glad I caught this live. I colored my hair with henna and it was a bit drying, but my hair tends to be dry, so I don't know if it was a henna or not. Anita, henna, I'll say this, henna can be a little bit drying. We know henna acts like a protein, like it binds to the inner cortex and of your hair. And so just make sure you are deep conditioning afterwards. And if you need to do a midweek deep condition, by all means do so as well. I know sometimes we like you're me, I'm like always on a weekly schedule, but if I find something was drying for my hair, which henna can be, right? If you think about like properties of strengthening properties of any type of herb or any type of additional like product, like a protein hair mask, right? Herbs also contain amino acids, which can also create stronger strands. Henna, while it is not necessarily a protein, binds to your hair like a protein. If someone is suffering from what I would say like protein overload or protein made their hair feel a bit drying, I'm going to always recommend going in and deep conditioning. Even for this week, maybe foregoing a shampoo and just focusing on getting conditioning properties in there. So I would recommend like silking your hair under warm water, right? This week, not hot, warm water, get those cuticles nice and lifted, right? Because shampoo serves the purpose again of two things. Shampoo helps to lift those cuticles so that your hair can receive that moisture. But also what it can help to lift the cuticles is heat. So, using warm water to lift those cuticles up, which as a lot of people, sometimes I'm on a tangent, so give me a second. Sometimes we only think of shampoo as the only way to clean, but conditioners can also clean as well, right? They don't have as much cleansing properties as a shampoo does per se. But again, if you're using warm water, those cuticles can lift. Deep condition your hair with that. Put the conditioner on. Use some type of hot cap, heat, whatever, with steam, whatever works best for your hair. Sometimes steam works better. Some people like the hot cap better. Whatever's going to maximize making sure your hair feels soft. And if you need to do so for at least an hour, I would do so for at least an hour. If you have more time, leave it on for longer. And then rinsing it out and then following up with some type of moisturizing products just to make sure you balance out that henna. Also, make sure you have enough hydration. So, again, we talk about moisturization. If you haven't watched my video on hydration versus moisturization or moisture, I highly recommend you doing that. So hydration is your humectant water, which is your liquid leave-in that has some form of humectant. So make sure that is always the base before you use anything that's moisturizing or sealing on your hair. So, I always recommend something like my Now leave-in conditioner, but it doesn't have to be that. You could literally make a tea with glycerin, and that is enough to be your leave-in. That's enough to be your hydration. Sorry, my brain was like gone. That's enough to be your hydration. And then you can use something moisturizing, whether it's my moisturizing salad, or a twist cream, a butter, any other cream you have, right? Just as long as you're doing that process afterwards, so you make sure you get as much as you can hydration in on wash day. Even though this week I would recommend maybe skipping that shampoo and just really focusing on getting that conditioning properties in. Once you rinse it out, really focus on the hydration. So make sure you saturate your hair even while it's wet with that hydration water, right? Or that leave-in, that liquid leave-in, something wet and can soak and hydrate your hair. And then once that's done, put in that moisturizer. And if you need to, a sealant as well. Oh, hey, Alana. She says, hey, Michelle. Hey, friend. How are you, dear? Thanks for joining me. Juice says, make sure you drop the website link. I'm supporting your brand. Okay, yes. I'll definitely drop the link in the chat for you. And I appreciate it. Let's see. How do I mix henna and indigo together? It'll be my first time doing this to dye my locks. So I actually have a video on how to do henna and indigo. I will actually put it in the chat, but I'll just kind of walk you through the steps. But you can watch the video afterwards and it will literally give you like a step-by-step process for it. So it depends on what you want to do. You can do henna and indigo. Hold up. Let me henna and indigo. You can do. Sorry, my brain today. Here we go. Let me drop the link. You can do it in either a two-step process or you can do a one-step process. So the two-step process with henna indigo will give you the darkest, bluish, blackish color possible. Mixing henna and indigo together in a one-step process will create a nice chocolatey, rich brown color. So okay, just for reference, anytime you do an indigo treatment, you always have to do henna first, right? Or henna with it. Because indigo will not bind to your hair without the addition of henna, first and foremost. Now you can do a two-step process if you want that nice chocolatey rich black color. And they recommend doing it for at least max. So if you're doing at least 3 hours of henna, then I would recommend doing at least 3 hours of indigo. If you're like me, you have very stubborn grays, okay? Really trying to make sure you maximize getting the most dye release from henna. So for me, honestly, what I do if I'm trying to make sure these grays will be covered, I will do a henna overnight. And then in the morning I'll wake up, rinse it out, and then I'll add my indigo. If you watch the video, I always add like a pinch of salt to my indigo because it really helps to bind. And this may also take multiple steps depending on if you have a lot of grays you're covering. If you're just covering regular hair, you probably don't have as much issues with that. This is especially true if your hair is like fine or if your hair is even a little bit, I hate to say damaged, but a little bit damaged, right? Because it's like any type of dye in general, like it binds better to hairs that, well, I can't say any dye in general. Dyes that act like proteins that bind to the hair cuticle bind better when the hair is a little bit damaged. And all that to say, sorry, because I'd be off on tangents. All that to say, you can either do it in a two-step process or you can do the henna, mix the henna like you would, let the dye release for the henna. So let the dye, if you have henna, let the dye release for at least 2 to 3 hours, right? You can use warm water. Heat will also help to speed up the dye release. Once the dye is fully released, and you know that because if you touch it or if you break the cast on the henna that you set to the side and it's like a different color underneath, then you can tell the dye it has released. Also, if you touch it like that and your fingers turn the orange red color, the dye has released. Then you will mix the indigo, and I recommend mixing the indigo separately, right? Letting the dye release in the indigo, and indigo dye release is usually about 20 to 30 minutes. Then mixing them together in a one-step process. You'll create a chocolatey rich color for your hair. Then you would leave that on in a one-step process for like 3 to 4 hours. And especially I recommend that if you're not trying to cover your grays or as a warmer base, right? If you're not, sometimes, if you just do a henna process, it'll create a very red color. But if you want a warmer base, like a more brown color, I recommend that. And then you could still do an additional indigo step process afterwards to create a more blue-black color. Or you can be fine with the chocolate base. But those are my recommendations. I also dropped the video in the chat of everything I literally just talked about. Okay, Juja says, what's a fairy knot? I wonder if that means the skinny strands, straight strands in our crown that gets tangled or what. Yeah, so a fairy knot is basically a single strand knot. It's a single strand of hair that knots around itself. We tend to see it like at the ends of our strands. I would try to show you, but my hair is so fine, you won't be able to see it on camera. I'm sure if I dig through my hair at this point, I could probably find one, but you probably won't be able to see it. But basically, it's just a single strand of hair that knots around itself. But the biggest issue that happens with that is generally it knots around itself, and then let's say another hair gets wrapped around it, and then it creates a knot around that, and then it creates sometimes massive forms of knots. And so they're fairy knots because they're very tiny. You can't really undo them. Generally, if you have a single strand knot, they're so tiny that you won't be able to undo it. They say it's almost like a fairy ties the knot in your hair, which is why they call it fairy knots or single strand knots. And the only thing you can do about that is just snip it out. I will say you'll probably notice it the longer your hair gets. I don't know how long your hair is, but the longer your hair gets, and you can also see it on short hair. It just depends on your curl texture, right? The tighter the curl texture, the more likely you have seen fairy knots or single strand knots. Let's see. Okay. How can I tell if my hair is over moisturized? So if your hair, that's a really good question actually. Your hair is over moisturized if you feel like your hair is very like overly soft, overly mushy. Your hair won't hold a style. Like let's say you do a twist and the twist maybe just unravels, and normally your twist would do a normal loop. If your hair also like stretches and stretches and stretches and doesn't bounce back, right? Like every good moisturized hair should have like a good, you just see this, good bounce back. But if you feel like you're doing this and your hair is just, you pull it on this and it kind of like just stays stretched, or your hair is like very, very soft to the point where it's not holding any type of style, um, then your hair probably needs some protein. Um, on the regular, and I recommend this just in general off of as a base, unless you have coarse strands. And let me be very clear, coarse strands does not mean your hair texture is this, right? Because I have fine strands and my hair texture is still kinky coily. Coarse strands means that the individual thickness of your strands is very thick, like the size of a thread. That is a coarse strand, right? There's fine, medium, and coarse. Sometimes we over or misuse the term coarse, but unless you have coarse strands, I'm here to tell you most people our hair is in need of protein. And that's because, especially if you have fine strands, I'll tell you this, especially if you have fine strands, your hair needs protein. Um, and it's not even necessarily that your hair is always necessarily so over moisturized, but the fact is your hair is maybe breaking. You see a lot of breakage. It could be over moisturized. I'm just going to recommend, if you don't know the last time you've ever done a protein treatment and you have coarse strands, I mean, and you have fine or medium strands, then you need a protein treatment. If it's been longer than about 8 weeks, you more than likely need a protein treatment. And protein treatments, we're going to be very clear about this. Protein treatments, I'm speaking specifically of hydrolyzed proteins or hydrolyzed amino acids. And they will say specifically that on the bottle or on the product that you're using. It'll say hydrolyzed oat protein, hydrolyzed silk protein, hydrolyzed silk amino acids, hydrolyzed keratin amino acids, whatever, but that's the form it will say. I'm not talking about any other type of like egg mass or yogurt mass type protein treatments. I'm specifically speaking about those type of proteins because those are broken down small enough to actually provide that protein to your hair. All right. And that protein again, or amino acid in this case, right? So they're broken down. Hydrolyzed proteins go through a process called hydrolysis, and it breaks the proteins down into peptides and amino acids. These are actually small enough to actually penetrate into the hair strand, go into the inner hair cortex, and actually rebuild up that cortex so you don't have as much breakage. Your hair doesn't stretch and stretch and stretch until forever. It doesn't bounce back, right? It gives your hair its elasticity and also allows you to retain moisture for longer. What happens is our hair cuticle, right? It's like it's like stacks on like a roof, right? And so like over time, those things get broken, they fall away. What helps to our hair naturally, okay, I'm gonna say this, our hair naturally wants to be hydrophobic, which means it naturally wants to repel water. But if you have leaky cracks, right? Like if you have a roof that has a bunch of holes in it, all of a sudden water's coming in. But what also happens, water can also go out of your hair. It can enter and exit very, very quickly, which is why people who don't use protein treatments have a hard time truly retaining moisture because their hair has too many cracks, so to speak, in the hair cuticle. And so when you use those proteins, it actually helps to rebuild those layers, rebuild those things so that your hair actually retains moisture for longer. It goes back to being hydrophobic, which we want it to, because we want to be able to lock in moisture in our hair strand, right? The point of us doing our wash day shampoo while we're removing dirt and oils and buildup, we're actually trying to rehydrate that hair cuticle. We're trying to rehydrate our hair, and then we want it to lock in, right? We don't want to. I leave the shower and I leave moisturizer in my hair, and then I walk down the street and my hair is dry as crisp, right? We don't want that. We want our hair to retain that moisture. We want that natural hydrophobicity of the hair. So, um, I'm just going to highly recommend, if you haven't done, your hair is over moisturized, or if you can't even think of the last time you've done a protein treatment, to do one. And you don't have to do what I would say a harsh protein treatment. To me, like an alpha is like one of the most powerful types of protein, right? It's like raw protein on your hair. You can start off with something small and see how your hair responds to it. A lot of people have a big fear about protein, which is why I talk about it so much and so often. I also make sure I include protein wash days in my every single one of my hair challenges. And that's because we're not getting enough protein in our hair. There is such a thing as having hair that is sensitive to certain types of proteins. We've talked about this probably a couple times in my life, how sometimes maybe in your diet you already have enough of a certain type of protein, so your hair doesn't need that specific type of protein. But there are large proteins and smaller proteins. And so, like when I formulate hair products, and I can't say most people, I don't know what everyone else says. When I formulate hair products, um, I try to include always some type of silk protein and then a larger protein. So you're getting a mix of both, because the small proteins can obviously go deeper into the hair strand, right? And then the larger proteins help to protect that outer cuticle of the hair. So it helps you to retain moisture inner, and then also help that cuticle to lock in. They call them the film forming proteins, that are the larger ones, like your oats and your keratin and your wheat, right? Some people's hair hate wheats, prefers oats. A lot of people's hair, there's different ranges. So I always recommend, if your hair is over moisturized, or you can't even determine, you don't even know when the last time you've done a protein treatment, I highly recommend doing what I recommend, a strengthening hair mask. Most strengthening hair masks, that is actually the difference of a hair mask. Hair masks generally have proteins in them, or amino acids, again, those hydrolyzed ones that are broken down small enough. Start with something like that. I have a mask, but I think every company out there has a hair mask, and the hair masks are protein. Start with something like that first. See how your hair responds to it. If your hair doesn't respond to it that well, it doesn't necessarily mean that your hair didn't need protein. Could mean your hair doesn't like that particular type of protein. But generally, I will say this: if you haven't done one in a very long time, generally your hair will be okay with that. Eventually, I think everyone should work their way up to a stronger type protein, right? Or a stronger type protein treatment. But it also is going to be dependent on what you're doing with your hair, how often you're styling, how often you're shampooing, conditioning your hair, right? So I'm a weekly washer, right? And I've told you multiple times, it's because I work out, and I'm really bad head sweater, and I have eczema prone skin. And for me, having a lot of buildup on my scalp just creates way more scalp issues. So for me, shampooing my hair is a must weekly. But again, the more wear and tear you do on your hair, the more you're going to need to rebuild those strands back up. Now, obviously, a lot of my products that I use do contain small amounts of amino acids and proteins. They're also very well balanced with moisturizing products, so you don't build up and have, protein overload in your hair. But even within that, I still have to do strong protein treatments. I'll still do a strengthening hair mask. And now, I haven't done an Apogee treatment. It's because I've actually been working on a separate treatment that's very similar to Apogee, that has a wide range of proteins that I'm working on to for my hair, and obviously to put out eventually for you guys, for everyone to use. So you're not using. I love Apogee, but it does have some products in it that I'm not really a fan of. But right now, it's to me a really good alternative. I've also seen Green Beauty has a protein treatment, and hers is literally just wheat. It's just hydrolyzed wheat protein. You can add it to your conditioner. You can add it to your shampoo. But as long, whatever my point in saying this, whatever protein or whatever you're doing, just make sure you're getting some type of protein in your hair. I do protein treatments or strengthening treatments every 3 weeks, while doing I would say a classified true protein treatment every six to 8 weeks. So it's just really important. And I know you're asking about over moisturization. I gave you like way too much information, but I just want you to kind of understand why I stress that. And also, if your hair is very much over moisturized, the importance of using protein to get your hair back balanced again. Okay. I know that was a lot. It was a mouthful. All right. Danielle says, how long do you keep your hair in a protective style? Then you wear your hair before washing. Honestly, generally, I keep my hair into the protective style until the next wash day. And maybe you guys will catch me on a Sunday where my hair is out like today. It's only because I took it out my hair last night and I wore it out last night into today. But generally, I wear my protective styles all week. And I don't generally take down the style. I will refresh with my leave-in conditioner. I'll just spray that around the edges. So for the entire 14 weeks, I literally wore that style until the next wash day. And you can tell because in some of the videos, you'll see me do the style. And then the next wash day, the next time I'm filming again, the style looks old, it's a little raggedy, but it's the same style that I wore for the entire week. This week, I just took out my hair to wear because I went to an event last night and I wanted to wear my hair out. I had it in a side puff. Now, it was better than this, but this is slept on hair, so it's whatever. I'm not worried about it. But that's generally what I do. I try to create, if you haven't seen Danielle, any of the videos, I've actually tried to create some shorts from the videos that I've created. Because at the end of every video, I give you a cute protective style. Now, sometimes we think protective styles have to be, I don't want to say ugly, but like outside of doing a wig, weave, or braids, people don't think of protective styles as like cute and fun things that you can wear for the week. And so at the end of my videos, I really try to show you that you can wear a really cute protective style the entire week and it be still very cute. But if you're like me and maybe sometimes you just want to see your hair, you want to see your curls, by all means, wear it at the end of the week if you want to. I would probably, if like this week, I'll wear it for a day or two before wash day. I will admit in the summertime, I do tend to wear my hair out more than I do in the wintertime. Obviously, also having the challenge for me to make it a challenge, right, was to kind of create different unique hairstyles for you guys to have, right? We're in this challenge, and yes, we're focusing on scalp care, we're focusing on growing our hair, but also creating things that make you feel beautiful, that make you want to wear it, right? Not something you're just like, oh, begrudgingly wear through the week just so my hair can grow and retain length, right? Because sometimes I think there's like this concept, like a lot of people say, oh, I hate the way my hair looks in twists, I don't feel feminine, I don't feel soft, right? And some people like, I love my hair in twists, and and I think it also can be maybe due to your hair density, right? Some people with fine thin strands, their twists just don't be popping with people who have maybe medium to coarse hair, right? Those strands be looking really nice with twists, right? And so it's finding things that your hair looks really good in, and protective styles. And that's kind of why I always try to show you guys at the end of every video a really pretty protective style. Now, pretty to me, maybe you don't like everyone, but maybe there was at least one or two that you feel like you could rock and wear a couple times a week or a couple times a month, and then maybe wear your puff for the rest of the week, or whatever. You find something that you like. I just want to make hair care a fun experience. I want to make natural hair a fun experience. I see a lot of people like returning back natural, saying, "Oh, returning back to relaxers." Under this guise, like, oh, natural hair is just so difficult, so hard, and every time I breathe wrong and my hair is breaking, and it's that. I admit that natural hair does require a little bit more maintenance, but I want to acknowledge the fact that it doesn't have to be this long, drawn out things that sometimes we make it, right? A lot of the protective styles that I'm showing you guys, I literally did in the bathroom within like 5 to 10 minutes, right? As long as you get your parting done, I feel like the longest for me of most of anything was parting, and some of them weren't even severe parting, right? Making sure you just do a line in the middle of your hair. A couple of them y'all could even see I didn't even part that well. It was just like the little puff buns that I did. Those weren't even parted greatly, but by the density of my hair, you can't necessarily see the individual parts. But if you can have somebody who can help you just draw to make the part straight, a lot of these styles don't take more than 5 to 10 minutes to do. The most I would say, the longest one was when I did the beads, and that's because putting on beads just takes time. But outside of that, you don't have to add beads to your hair. You don't have to, be extra. I like to be extra. But anyways, again, I be on tangents, but for me, that's what I'm saying. I want people to just really like understand that protective styles don't have to be these long, drawn out process. They don't have to be wigs. They don't have to be weaves. That you can do something simple with your hair and still be elegant and still be beautiful. And you can wear it the whole week, and no one will be like, "Oh, is she wearing that? Oh, why she got her hair like that?" No, it's something you enjoy doing. That's it. I'm gonna get off I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Diane says, any suggestions to regrow nape hair? Both corners are thinning from my coat collar rubbing. The middle is fine. It's funny. When I used to live in New York and I used to go into the office every day, I had this problem. It was on, I forget what side of my hair. It was like one corner of my hair was very much like that. What I ended up having to do for that, I would wear a little silk a little silk scarf on the back of my coat to stop it from rubbing up against it. Or like if I was like on the train, I would pin my hair up right in the back, right where the coat was rubbing, and I would put like a bunch of shea butter on that, and I would put like a little scarf, and I would just wrap that tight, so that way when I was out and about, I wouldn't have to worry about the rubbing of that. Otherwise, like you can regrow the hair. The issue is like you can regrow the hair, but as long as you're wearing that coat, it's gonna keep rubbing and causing a lot of breakage. So if you can possibly put your hair up, or even just like stitch or lightly stitch a little bit silk right on the side of that coat lining, that can also help. And if you don't want to do that, I mean, regrowing the hair, I always recommend the same things, like giving yourself a nice scalp massage with any type of oils and things. But really, I think the key here is not that your hair is not going to regrow in that area. It's that you have to figure out how to get that coat to stop rubbing on that area. So I would definitely make sure, like when you're out and about, put your hair up, and try to find, even if you put your hair up, use a scarf, um, and they have little silk, what are they called? They're like little, almost like handkerchiefs. And I would just literally, I used to like fold the handkerchief right around that coat section. So that way I would stop that rubbing. And I didn't even have to stitch it in, like literally right around the coat. I know my might have looked crazy and I didn't care, but I would literally just tuck it under, right under that coat collar, just tuck it under so it would stop the rubbing on there. And then of course, again, use any of the oils and herbs. You have your amla, you have your fenugreek. You can infuse that into oils and give yourself a nice little massage in that area to get those edges, that nape hair growing back. Okay, JMC Life Mastery says, I got my first order on Friday. I used all products I purchased from the hair. I love them all. Oh, yay! Love the gloss bars, and the hair mask was recharging also. Great SPA smell. Oh, I'm so glad. Great spa smell. I just want to say SPA. Great spa smell. I love that. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that. Oh, I love the gloss bars. They're my favorite too. Wambu says, "Hey Michelle, I love your content. Hair so gorgeous. Thank you, thank you. Just a concern. I've seen your review on a Kenyan-based cosmetic packaging company. I don't know if it was you. I just peeped. Much love from Kenya. Oh, I don't know. Can you send me what you're talking about? I don't have any products right now in Kenya. Uh, on a Kenyan-based cosmetic packaging. I don't know. Can you send me a link? Because I don't know if I've ever seen that or know anything about that. So please share it with me. You can drop it in the chat. You can send it to my email. My email is NowIamNappy@gmail.com. I would love to check it out and see what it is. Jude just says, "Oh, been through that. Yeah, no matter what we try to do to untangle them." Oh, yeah, you're talking about the single strand knots. Yeah, they're forever there. Emma says, "I do a 50-50 henna and indigo, the way Michelle said, and then get the blackest black color. I will do an indigo process after rinsing out the 50-50 mixture." Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. It has to get pulled out or trimmed. Drija, don't pull those strands out. Just trim them. I know pulling is easy. Sometimes you'd be out here and just be like pulling it, but pulling it actually creates more split ends. So just make sure you snip it and don't just pull or rip through the hair. Monica says, with the hair challenge we just did, can it be continuously done, or should we take a break and then restart? If we have to take a break, how long should the break be? Nope, you can restart. There's nothing about that challenge that is too much for the hair. One of the good things about this challenge, and just using herbs in general, I actually opted to do herbal hair masks every other week, so that way you give your hair a break, so to speak. If you're somebody who doesn't do want to use like herbal hair masks every week, right? Because it can be a lot to put all that in your hair every week. It's not necessarily a lot, but it can be more time consuming, right? So that's why I have one week where we do a hair mask or a hair tea or something, and then I would do one week where we just do a regular wash day. So sometimes we just want to get in and out of that shower. And so you can continue that challenge on forever. That is a really good schedule to stick on and to continue with. Honestly, the challenge makes us accountable. Exactly. And that was like honestly one of the biggest things I feel like I learned from the challenge because I definitely fell off a lot when, I had my Black Friday sale, which led up into like the pre-Christmas sale. And I was so overwhelmed, you guys. And I really wasn't doing my hair. I had put that wig on my hair, that three-quarter wig on my hair, or I just put my hair into a puff. And I was like, I didn't even have time to like really do my hair. And it's like it's easy to just fall out of out of a routine, and holding myself accountable, like I said, like even with just creating styles for you guys and like doing my hair and taking time for me, right? Having a little bit of me time was like good. And then my hair flirt, and y'all saw as soon as I did cut my hair because I went through some stuff, but like my hair flourished. When you hold yourself accountable, you stick to the routine that works. So I feel you can stick right with it. I know I'm about to go into like some testing phases with some new herbs, but I do hope like once I figure out what I like from the new herbs, right? So I don't know if you were here earlier. I mentioned I'm going to be doing a new herb series with the Chinese herbs that I talked about. So I talked about in the 15 herb video for 15 herbs for hair growth video that I did in December. I talked about 5 Ayurvedic, 5 African, and 5 Chinese herbs, and we've covered every last one of the Ayurvedic and African herbs that I recommended for hair growth. Um, so I wanted to delve into some Chinese herbs. So I am going to go obviously through a period over the next couple of weeks of figuring out which Chinese herbs we like, if I like them, and then maybe we'll incorporate some of them in a challenge in the near future. But while I do experimenting and testing, I do hope y'all stay. I do hope y'all stay with me along on that journey as well. But in the interim, like definitely stick to that schedule. Again, I also think it's important because like if you find herbs, like some of them I gave you recommendations of which gloss bars to try, right? So maybe you tried in the challenge, maybe you only tried maybe the Brahmi and the Bringraj, or maybe just try the hibiscus moringa, but you also have other gloss bars you can try and see how your hair likes, right? Um, you can easily find things that which herbs your hair likes the most, your hair responds to the best, helps you to retain moisture, helps to give you strength, right? Each gloss bar is a little bit unique and a little bit different, and some you'll find your hair loves more than others. So I think it's okay while I'm in my experimenting stage for the next set of products to recommend, or even products for y'all to DIY and try it yourself, right? Feel free to stick on to a schedule and a routine that you know is working for you. Vanessa says, is almond considered a protein? Almond is not necessarily considered a protein, but almond does have some strengthening properties to it. So I always recommend, even if you do like you want to use amla regularly, as long as you use something that balances it out well with a little bit more like conditioning properties. So like for me, I can use an amla treatment pretty regularly and it's fine with my hair, but some people find the amla can be a little bit drying. It's also because it's really so much vitamin C in amla powder that it can be a bit strengthening. So I would definitely just make sure you balance it out, like using oils and butters with it, using conditioner. I'll tell people some of the best ways to use almond powder when I first started using amla, outside of using it in an oil, I would just add like a tablespoon or two to my conditioner, and it made my hair feel so soft, right? It'd be perfectly balanced. So definitely try it out like that. Danielle says, do you take collagen or hair vitamins? Yes, I do. I take both. I take a liquid collagen. I started that honestly November. Who am I taking? I think it's called Neocell collagen. I'm looking at my Amazon store right now because that's where I was getting my. It was out of stock the last time from Amazon, and I had to order it from somewhere else. But prior to that, yeah, it's Neocell collagen. It's the liquid collagen, um, and it has types 1 and 3 collagen. I'll drop this actually, and it's crazy. It's still not available on the Amazon. I ordered it. Where did I order it from last time? Because it wasn't on Amazon. Maybe I went to their website and ordered it. I'm gonna I'll show you. I'll drop the link in there. Even though it's not on the Amazon anymore. I don't know why, but I'll send you the Amazon links just so you know which type I get, but you can buy it directly from their website. I get the Collagen Plus C. And honestly, I obviously know collagen is good for your hair, skin, and nails. I actually just got it for my skin. I'm not gonna lie. I was being very vain because I just turned 38. And so one of the big things everyone was like, as you age, you don't want to find no wrinkles and da da da. And so of course, I didn't go through like a midlife crisis or anything, but I was just like, I felt like because I wasn't really sleeping that well and I was like making hair products every day and I felt like my skin was getting a little dehydrated. I wanted to see if I would notice noticeable results from taking liquid collagen because I've taken like powder collagen before in the past. I know I would never was consistent with it. Um, but I decided to take it for like 30 days to see if I notice a difference, and maybe I did. I don't really know if I noticed a difference or not, but I like it and I've been taking it since then. So that's the one I take. That's good for hair, skin, and nails. Um, and then I take I'm looking at it here. It's what's it called? Hair Bounty Hair Skin. It's on my fridge. I'm looking it up on my fridge. It's the Hair Bounty Hair Skin and Nails. I grabbed those from Amazon too, and I just take that. And now I'm not gonna lie, I'm not consistent with the hair, skin, and nails. I don't know what it is. I'll do good for a while, and then I'll fall off the whole wayside sometimes with that. But those are the two things that I will take. I do take a collagen. I do take a hair, skin, and nails when I remember. But the collagen, I'm trying to be more consistent with. So I started that in November, like at the beginning of November, and then um, I like fell off somewhere in December, but I would say March and April, I've taken it pretty much every single day, and I take it right in the morning. If you're curious, uh, the natural that was a perfect speech preach about protein. I have a few family members say to me lately that their hair ends are dry. I get a weird look when I mention protein. Yeah, natural reach all the time, all the time. A lot of people don't really understand the importance of protein because there's so much fear from it, and the last thing people think of when they hear my ends are dry, they think, oh, protein will make it drier, and they don't know a lot of times protein will actually be the thing that helps them the most. Diane said, thanks. I'll do that until it warms up in the DMV. You haven't steered me wrong in the 3 years I've been following you. Oh, good. The natural said, I have a lot of work to do. Seriously, though, I love to share your videos and some other influencers' info. Also, what I learned with others. I could chat forever. Me too, girl. I'll get on the soapbox and I'll be down the road, around the corner, up the block. I love talking about hair and I love talking about certain topics I get really like energized about because I think there's a lot of misinformation there's been a lot of misinformation for years about protein, and I kept hearing this word about protein sensitivity. Oh, my hair's a protein sensitive. And I don't want to discredit that, right? Because like I said, I think there are proteins that some people can be sensitive to. I don't want to not acknowledge that fact. I've also mentioned before that I think the proteins that people tend to be sensitive to are proteins that they're probably getting enough in their diet from, right? Understand our hair is just an extension of our body and what we eat, right? And so um, some things are obviously our body can create itself, but some things we get externally from our diet. And so I've personally have found through my research, through my testing, that some of the most proteins that are for us and our people or our natural hair, we tend to do well with silk proteins or silk amino acids and oats, which is obviously what you see in my Owen Hollow line. You see there's a lot of still proteins involved in some of the leave-ins and stuff. Rice protein, I found like, our hair tends to like as well. Rice is a larger protein. I know people are talking about, oh, rice water, this and this and that. But again, the rice protein actually has a hydrolyzed protein that your hair can actually absorb. I have found people's hair tend to not necessarily care for wheat, which doesn't surprise me because we eat a lot of bread, right? We eat a lot of products that have wheat in it, right? We just do for the most of us. And so I'm not surprised that your hair doesn't need maybe anything with additional wheat proteins in it. But it tends to be well with other types of proteins. And so it's not a one shoe fits all, right? It's not a one size fits all. And so this is why I tell people like I don't want to never say your hair might not be protein sensitive. It can be protein sensitive to that particular type of protein. But I'm here to tell you your hair is a protein, and as long as you're shampooing, cleansing, styling your hair regularly and Don't you dare use heat, because if you're using heat, I'm going to tell you your hair needs protein more regularly than someone who doesn't use heat. If you're using chemicals on your hair, you're coloring your hair needs protein. Your hair is a protein and it gets depleted all the time from everything we're doing, wear and tear. Don't you dare have fine strands and medium strands, because your hair just at that side of it, your hair breaks off, right? You do anything wrong, so to speak, or you even do things right. And so it's just like trying to remove this demonization we have of protein and realizing that it's actually our best friend. And I'll recommend sometimes also some of the best proteins can be hydrolyzed keratin protein. Why? Because our hair is actually keratin. So, having a good mix and different range of these is just important, right? Each protein has a different level of peptides and a different level of amino acids that your hair needs for the building blocks for a strong and healthy hair. Some of the best and people I know with some of the longest, strongest hair will testify to using protein. Mika, who's currently not online anymore, but she has like almost thigh length, mid thigh length, butt length hair, used Afro G religiously every 6 weeks, right? And I cannot stress the importance. As your hair ages, the longer your hair gets, the more wear and tear from washing and styling and heat and sun and damage. So the more you will need to add protein. Sometimes when we're trying to get past the next thing, right? So if you're someone who's always been at shoulder length for a long time, armpit length, sometimes you got to do something different to break out of that next to get to that next thing, right? And that may mean being more gentle during your wash days, right? For me, that meant like making sure I did a finger detangle outside of the shower before I got into the shower. My fine strands needed a little bit more care, right? The longer your hair is, the more wear and tear it has, more years of wear and tear. So the more likely you're going to need protein, especially if those strands are fine and medium. And I'm not excluding coarse hair, but I will say this: coarse hair is a completely different animal than fine and medium strands. And I would say probably about 90% of us have fine and medium strands. There's very few percentage of people who actually have coarse hair. Okay, and that coarse strands are just, again, those are those large, thick strands that look like the size of thread. If you pull out a piece of thread and your hair matches the size of thread, then you have coarse strands, which means your hair is so resilient. I'm not saying your hair doesn't need protein. I'm not saying your hair doesn't need these things, but it needs it much less. It means your hair has the full medulla, it has the inner, the cortex, and it has the outer cuticle layer. Those with fine to medium strands generally do not have a medulla. What you'll also see is when you get gray hairs, like I got gray hairs now, gray hairs tend to actually become coarse strands. That's why they're wiry. That's why they're thicker. That's why they're ever so present. You can see them very vividly. Obviously, you see it because it's obviously also up against my black hair, but they're more wiry. And that's because they develop an inner medulla, which generally the coarse strands have. So they're a whole different animal. They're a whole different beast. People with coarse strands generally need more moisture, and they do benefit from protein treatments, but I wouldn't recommend someone with coarse strands doing a protein treatment every 6 weeks. I would not recommend unless they're using heat or chemicals on their hair regularly. While the rest of us with fine and medium strands, I would say yes, every 6 weeks you need to be doing some type of protein or something like that. Coarse strands I would not recommend if unless you're doing again something damaging to your hair. Um, but yeah, so why I don't talk much about coarse strands in this, and I'm focusing on that because again, most 90% of us have either fine or medium strands, and so that's what I am focusing on. Coarse strands is a different animal. They do need protein. Again, all of us need protein. It's just their frequency would be much less because their hair doesn't get depleted as quickly as us with fine to medium strands do, because more than likely we don't have an inner medulla and our hair breaks and is more prone to breakage due to the fact that our strands are fine. Okay, I'm off my soapbox again. All right, let me go back. Let me go back. I told you I'll be over here. I'm gonna just bring myself back over here. Oh, Risty said, "Hey boo, hi Risty, how are you?" She said, "Hey y'all, sorry I'm so late. Cramps are kicking my butt." Oh no, I hope you feel better, sis. Drink some tea. You always recommend to drink some good tea. Yes, Chinese herbs. I'm about to order me some licorice root in a day. Oh, licorice root is really good. It's really good. Tiffany says, I finally saw moringa in the store, but can you remind us of all the benefits? Oh, yeah, Tiffany. Moringa has 92 of the 102 vitamins, minerals, nutrients, amino acids, fatty acids needed to actually survive, live. It does have literally like more vitamin C than oranges, more calcium than yogurt, more vitamin A than carrots. It is literally a superfood. It is a powerhouse. It contains iron. It has vitamin, I don't know if it has vitamin D. I know it has vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E. I have to look if it has vitamin D, but I know it contains iron. It has your amino acids, has all 9 amino acids, which again it can help strengthen the hair strand as well. But also, one thing about moringa, I'm going to recommend to everyone, you can take moringa internally as well as use it topically on your hair. If you're deficient, if you feel like you're not getting enough vitamins, nutrients in your body, you can add, I think it's like a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of moringa will literally give you 92 of the 102 things that you need to survive. So a powerhouse, a very powerhouse. How often is it safe to drink moringa? You can drink it every day. They actually have it was a company I used to use. It was a while ago. I haven't seen them. It was a black owned company too. What was their name? If I think of it, I'll put it in the chat. They actually sold a moringa tea that you can drink. But you can take that every day. Again, every day we need these vitamins and minerals in our body, and so by all means, if you're not eating a healthy diet, or you're not, even if you are, sometimes you still can be missing out on certain things. Take a tablespoon of moringa. You can add it to your smoothie. You can drink it as a tea. Um, yeah, just get it in. Get it in. Highly recommend. Ayon says, hello everyone, I caught a live. Hey. She's I'm dealing with bad shedding due to my low vitamin D and have COVID 3 times and have, oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm taking vitamin D supplements, but what else can I do? I just want to make sure with your vitamin D supplements, you're taking them with other things. I'm trying to remember. So I actually did a video called how vitamin D deficiency can like basically destroy your hair. I actually didn't realize how powerful vitamin D was. Like I knew it was, and I know obviously like to me, iron and vitamin D are the two most things that we talk about being deficient in. But when I really did the research more on vitamin D deficiency, I didn't realize there were actually vitamin D receptors in our hair follicle. So if we're not getting enough vitamin D, our hair will not thrive, which is why people's hair is breaking or it's thinning, because those receptors are not matching up because there's not enough vitamin D, and so they just die, and there's nothing. The hair can't grow from them anymore, right? But I say all that to say, you should be taking vitamin D with, why can't I think of what it was? You need to be vitamin D. Oh, with fat soluble. There we go. With fat soluble oils, right? So take fat soluble oils with vitamin D. There are other things in that video. I think I listed like 4 or 5 things that you can take that can help with the absorption rate of vitamin D. I want to say something was like magnesium, fat soluble, vitamin E. I don't remember off the top of my head because I did that video a little while ago, but that video, I highly recommend that. Also, go outside and get some sun. Go outside and go sit in that sun every single day. If you can take 30 minutes, I walk my dog every single morning, rain, sun, snow, whatever. I walk him 30 minutes, well, actually an hour every day, but I understand that's not something everyone can do according to their schedule. But go outside and get some vitamin D. That will also help. That's honestly one of the best ways to get vitamin D. Then just I take vitamin D with omega-3. Omega-3, yeah. Some type of fatty acid, some oils, fatty oils, you help something oil soluble with your vitamin D. Also, I would recommend trying to get as much foods that contain vitamin D. Mushrooms are one of the richest sources of vitamin D. I think it was shiitake or maitake had the highest levels of vitamin D. Fatty fish, also good with rich in vitamin D. I actually will drop the video in the chat because I did I did all the research. I did all the research for you in that video. Copy link. And I tell you what you should be taking it with. Obviously, the things I just mentioned about, fat soluble and I think magnesium and all that can also aid in the absorption of that. On top of that, you can use like topically. I will obviously recommend any of the gloss bars. So usually having bad shedding, I recommend like especially the amla fenugreek neem gloss bar, the Brahmi the Brahmi clove gloss bar, Brahmi clove and aloe gloss bar, or the Bringraj rosemary and amla gloss bar. Those things will really help to dead shedding quickly. Also, anything with moringa. Um, also take moringa. You can also use moringa to help with shedding. If you want to help, like right now, if you have some green tea in the house, you can brew a green tea, and then when you do your wash day, you can rinse with green tea before you get anything else. You can also do green tea and cloves. If you have cloves in the house, boil them as a tea and then pour them on your scalp. Well, not don't Jesus. Let it cool down and then use it as like a final rinse after wash day in the interim. But I recommend any of those gloss bars, the Brahmi aloe clove, will dead shedding, the hibiscus moringa amla aloe, hibiscus moringa amla, um, amla fenugreek neem. Those things will also help with shedding. But the internally, it's an unfortunate thing. Like in reality, whenever we're deficient in things, just know it's not a perfect fix. You're gonna take a little bit of time. Same with iron anemia. When I was severely iron anemic, um, it's not a I took iron today, I should be perfectly fine tomorrow. It's going to take some time for your body to feel better, but those herbs can definitely help you in the process to like start, regrowing that hair, helping with some of that really bad shedding. um Sorry, let me scroll up real quick because y'all know I'll be talking way too much. Vanessa, so you say don't use heat. I find that if I diffuse, my hair is more frizzy, but if I use a hooded dryer, it doesn't frizz, and air drying takes too long. So what do you suggest, please? Okay, Vanessa, use what if you're using heat in that way, that's fine. When I was speaking about don't use heat, I'm talking about like using hot combs and like pressing tools on your hair. And honestly, I'll tell people this: use what works best for you, but just know there are always, I don't want to say consequences. There are always things that will happen when using heat. Now, heat that is used in that way, like as a hooded dryer, heat that's used as a diffuser and all that, there are benefits of using heat to actually help products to penetrate into the hair strand and do that. What I'm talking about when I'm speaking about using heat, I'm talking about using blow dryers like this and just blow drying your hair, or using hot tools on your hair, right? Those things can actually destroy or deplete proteins from your hair strand. Diffusing your hair is a way of just whisking water away, minimally using heat on that. Hooded dryers can be drying, depending on how often or how long you're using that, how high the heat is on your hair. But yes, hooded dryers can help reduce frizz. And I'm gonna tell you why. Honestly, if you're like somebody who has low porosity hair, right, which means that products don't penetrate as well unless there is heat or pH that help to lift the cuticle for the product to absorb. So when you have, I'll say this, people, when you have low porosity hair, and let's say you put all the products in your hair, you got gel, you got your creams on your hair, whatever you got on your hair, right? And maybe it's kind of sitting on your hair. It's maybe a little white little film on your hair. You use that hooded dryer. It lifts those cuticles. All the product absorbs into the hair, and then this is why I say don't over dry your hair, right? Because then you can also dehydrate. If you leave it too long, then the hair gets so dehydrated. Because again, that's when some people be sitting on a hooded dryer for hours. I'm like, oh my god, you stripped every last bit of moisture from your hair. So there's a benefit of literally using a hooded dryer. Um, Also a steamer. Some people prefer diffuser, whatever. There's everyone's a little bit different, so you have to listen to your hair. Just the right amount of time, right? Heat, it doesn't have to be the devil. When I was referring to heat as a devil, I was using it, and I don't want to say the devil. When I'm using heat in a negative sense, I was simply speaking of like hot combs and hot tools that you're like combing through your hair or flat iron your hair frequently. When you use that type of heat, you break down the proteins in your hair cuticle, which causes damage. So that's what I was suggesting. But using a hood dryer can be completely fine as long as you're not overdoing it and your hair is not getting dried out from it. And it definitely can help reduce frizz. So you're okay with that. AM says I have fine strands and it's annoying. I have no volume. You wanna what I find when you have fine strands that help creates this idea of volume, right? And I always laugh because I have fine strands and you can see like when you go through the light, your hair disappears. You see it like right in here. Separating the hair a lot, right? So like separating the hair, breaking apart the curl will help to create volume, right? This idea that you have more hair than you do. Um, it's a journey. It's a journey. Fine strands have their pluses and they have their negatives, but and I know if you're like dealing with hair loss and especially you have COVID and you know you have vitamin D deficiency, um, in the interim while your hair is regrowing back, definitely try styles that again, if you pull apart some of the curl, like for me, if my hair is super defined, you can really see how thin it is. Same like when I do two strand twists, you can really see how fine and thin my hair is. But doing like for me, if you've looked at any of the videos I have, if you have enough hair to do the style that I have, some of those styles don't show your true density of the hair or true fineness of the hair, like a lot of the updos that I generally will do. You can also do like puff type styles like this that will create more the idea of more volume, um, things like that. But like I said, the other stuff I recommend is in that video. And I also just see he said my doctor put me on vitamin D 50,000 I use. I take it with avocado and egg toast. That's good. That's good. That's giving you some of your omega 3s and stuff. But in that video, I think I list like 5 different things you can eat, but try to get enough veggies and try to get enough sun. Sun can do a lot of good for you. I know there's a lot of things about hiding from the sun, but there's a lot of positives the sun can bring, and vitamin D is one of them. Use your sunscreen now. Oh, let's see. Am I? Oh, this is I have some Tazo sweet cinnamon tea. Does not need any sugar and has licorice root in it. Water is heating up now. That sounds really good. I love licorice root. I really do. Okay. Did I skip anyone else? Tiffany says finally tried the Clove Gloss Bar yesterday. It felt strengthening. I loved it. Oh, good, good. I'm glad you loved it. Said you have to let it cool down you do have to let that cool down. Don't burn yourself, y'all. The video just reminded me to take my vitamin D supplements. Yes, take your vitamin D, y'all. If again, iron and vitamin D are the two most common deficiencies for Black women, and so make sure you take your supplements if you need to take them regularly. AM says, I have moringa tea mixed with green tea bags and I will buy your glass bars. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. You're welcome. And honestly, you have that moringa tea mixed with green tea. I would brew that tea today and then let it cool down and then use that as like a final rinse. And even if you're not using a final rinse, spray that on your scalp throughout the week. And you'll probably will notice less shedding on your next wash day if you've already, washed your hair. Let's see. Judah says, please do this next Sunday. I'm outside now, but I enjoyed every minute. You have great ideas and communication skills. Take care. Thank you. I will try, but like I said, next weekend I will be at our melanin market. I'll be vending. So I don't know how much energy I will have on Sunday, but if I do have energy, I will be live. I'm really gonna try to have my girlfriend come so she can also kind of like live stream some of the marketplace, so you guys can kind of like see us out there like in real time. But yeah, but if not, I will try to do another live. I will say I love doing the live, so it is very fun. I'll do one of those in Toronto, fam. I'll pop out. Listen, I'm trying to do more. I'm trying to do more areas this year. I'm really am. I have not thought about Toronto, but I'll definitely think about that. One love. Thank you. Her first. You're a beautiful person, inside and out. Stay blessed. Thank you so much. Thank you. Says, I'm thankful I have no balding. My hair is brushed up. Oh, perfect. Sounds bomb, sis. I love that. I love that. Well, as long as you keep your hair up, I know you mentioned shedding. So just try to get that shedding under control. And again, like the biggest issue with vitamin D deficiency, again, is that we have vitamin D receptors on our hair follicle. So when we're not getting enough, it'll start shedding, severe shedding, which can lead eventually to that. But we're not speaking that into existence at all. So we're going to prevent that from happening because we're going to take care of that before we get to that point. So we got this, okay? Remy says, "Hey, happy nappy crew! Caught the live. Today's wash day. It's feeling like a henna gloss type of day." Oh yes. Do you have any benefit of applying sunscreen to the hair, leave-in? Do you are there are do you are my are any benefit of applying to? There can be, and it's funny because I actually maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I actually did a video of a leave-in conditioner that actually has some sunscreen properties to it. So yeah, I would say there is benefits of using quote unquote like hair sunscreen, like a leave-in sunscreen, especially so like there's oxidative stress, there are oxidative things that can damage the hair follicle, can damage the hair, cause it to be like more drying and stuff. So I would say a lot of the I forget what I used in that video. Now that I'm thinking about it. Sorry, you literally made me think about that video. I want to say there it's like nettle or I don't remember now. Now I must go back and investigate. But yeah, there are definitely some herbs and honestly like shea butter, mango butter, they all have natural like sun blocking properties. So I would say if you use products that contain like some of those butters and stuff, you do have naturally like some sunscreen benefits of it. Also people recommend like on those really hot days and really hot, if you're going to be outside for extended periods of time of covering your hair up, also realizing that your hair is affected, but also your scalp is affected, right? And so oxidative stress can cause hair loss. I feel like everything can cause hair loss. My gosh, as I say this, I'm thinking to myself, like, yes, too much sun can cause hair loss. Too much sun can cause skin damage, and our scalp is skin, so it's also like being protective of it. So, um, yeah, there probably is some benefits to that, as long as also you're using good products that do contain butters and oils that have natural sun blocking properties, you're probably getting some benefit there. But if you're going to be out in the sun, like if you're at the beach for hours on end, like I always recommend having a hat, sitting under an umbrella. Because outside of, the oxidation from the sun, like too much heat can be very drying for your hair. Obviously, it depends on the type of heat. There's like in the East Coast, there's like humidity heat. And then if you're like somewhere down south, there's like dry heat, right? And that dry heat can literally make you feel so dehydrated. So I was born and raised in El Paso, right? And El Paso, Texas is a desert. And I had some of the most worst hair, dry hair, struggle bus hair when I lived there. And every time I go back, I actually refuse to wash my hair there. Also, they have hard water, so I refuse to wash my hair when I'm back home. But the sun alone is so destructive, so destructive to the hair. So like everyone like covers up their hair, wears hats and stuff. Um, so again, like everything, when there's an excess of things, it can be very damaging. But again, also using products that have natural like sun blocking and sunscreening properties can also aid in helping to reduce that. But very, very, very good question. And honestly, like I feel like I'm gonna go back and look at it because I definitely have a video on a DIY leave-in that I created. That's probably like 3 years ago at this point. All right. Emma says, did I read that already? No. I take vitamin D3 and K2. Do I still need fatty oils? Um, you might. I don't know what helps absorb better. I do know that D3 is a fat soluble vitamin, or is it D2 that's a fat soluble? Let me look. Let me look. Um, Let me read here. So there's a study by the NIH that says Dietary fat increases vitamin D3 absorption. Objectives, hypothesis that absorption of D3 is greater when the supplement is taken with a meal containing fat than with a fat-free meal. Okay, let's see what was the conclusion. Now, this is a really light thing that I'm looking at. I know D2. The conclusion was the presence of fat in a meal with which a vitamin D3 supplement is taken significantly enhances the absorption of the supplement. But the mufa poofa of the fat in the meal does not influence its absorption. I don't know what the mufa and poofa is. I would do more research, but I will tell you this. Everything that I read online prior to this, like quickly just looking that up, and in that vitamin D video did mention having fat soluble something help with the absorption of it. But fat soluble wasn't the only thing. I think I mentioned in that video. I think there was like 3 or 4 things that can aid in helping to get the most from your vitamin D supplement. So I would definitely, I want to say, like I said, I think there's magnesium. K2 might have been mentioned. And it might be fun. I mean, that might be enough. Let me see. Oh, vitamin K2 is a fat soluble vitamin that must be consumed. So that's fine then. You should be fine because K2 is fat soluble. So you should be fine. You don't need it. You don't necessarily need anything else. Okay, let me scroll back up. Let's see. Okay, Rim says, yes, the green tea amla seems to stop the shedding. I had in this tracks. Yep. As I said, if you don't have anything right now, like any additional products, the green tea, it will help it right away. Perfect. Okay. Oh, that's so cool. I just took my vitamin D, calcium. Thank you. You're welcome, Rissy. A Young says, my hair is growing because of you, and I'm so thankful. I've learned to care for my hair with Ayurvedic treatments. I'm loving the journey. Well, I'm glad you're on the journey with us, sis. I have fine hair. I wanted to try mini twists at the beginning of this year. Then I moved to 8 to 10 chunky twists, pinup styles. And that's perfect. Listen, do what's best. Like I said, I love me sometimes some mini twists, but I also can say I can definitely tell that my hair is fine when I put my hair into mini twists. But the chunky twists, they work well, and there's nothing wrong with it. Ram says, I can find the video. I hear coconut oil. I hear coconut and oil and grapeseed oil has some sun protection. Thank you for answering. Oh, you're welcome, dear. I will try that as well. Ram says, I'm in Dallas, so I felt that. I changed my shower head to help with hard water. Yes. Yes. I think my parents got a shower filter. Like the water in Texas it's so hard. It's so hard. And there's certain places I just won't wash my hair in because I don't want to deal with having hard water in my hair. Ram said there are some good fats like avocado oil that you can saute your veggies in. Some vitamins are fat soluble. Exactly. Avocado oil is really good. Actually, that's how I use the oil I use to cook and saute my veggies in. We say, yep, cooking with avocado oil it is. Trish the Natural says, hi, NowIamNappy and chat. Hey, dear, how are you? All right, you guys, let me know if there's anything else or any other questions or anything else you want to talk about. Again, just for reference, I will be sending out an email tomorrow. So if you're not on my email list, you can definitely join us. I will be just letting you guys know where you can find me during the month of April. So just for reference, next week I'll be at the Melanin Market in Philadelphia. I'll be vending there. And then at the end of this month, I'll be at the World Natural Hair Show in Atlanta, which is April 27th and 28th. I applied for the Hue, I think it was called the Hue Affair in New York. I haven't heard back regarding vending there. But stay tuned. If there are other events that you guys know of, feel free to tag me in. I'm willing to obviously travel to go vend at some of these events. And, if I can come to a city near you, I hope maybe you guys can come out, see me, come talk. Even if you don't buy anything, it's always good to see you guys. Like, it's nice. Like, last year in Atlanta, I met so many people. Like, oh my god, I was on the chat, and they're like, I'm so from the chat. I'm so like, oh my god. So it was nice to like meet everyone. So even if you don't, I tell people, even if you don't come buy anything, just come say hello. I appreciate the support and the love, and it's always good to meet you guys. But if there's nothing else, I will be signing off, and thank you for joining the chat. Thank you for joining the challenge. I hope you guys enjoyed something from the challenge. I hope your hair thrived. I hope you're taking care of yourselves as well. I appreciate y'all. And if you're watching the eclipse tomorrow, I know there's been so many conspiracy theories. Everyone just stay safe, drink your water, mind your business, grow some hair. Take some time for yourselves today. It is Sunday. Make sure you get a lot of rest and care for the week. It's going to be a long week. I just feel like it is. Let's see, Ram says, appreciate you so much, Michelle. My hair is literally thriving after these challenges. I love it. I love it. Always drink your water and tea. All right. Thank you. Cinnamon says, have a good week. Thank you, you too. Tommy says, great show. Thank you, love. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for joining me today. I'll see y'all next time. Bye. Where's Night? He's sleeping. He's in the other room sleeping. I'm surprised he didn't come in here because usually after about an hour, he usually shows his big head. But I don't know. He was actually sleeping on me when I was on the couch. I took a nap before I was doing this live. He was sleeping on me, so maybe he was content with that. But I don't know. I'm surprised. I don't know. I've said his name twice now. He hasn't. I haven't heard him move. Night. He's asleep. All right. If he comes in, I'll do that. If not, I'll post a picture on the community chat. He tired. We went on a long walk this morning. So I usually do an hour walk with him around my neighborhood. But then he met this other corso that was out there. She was like 3 years old, and they were like trying to play with each other. So he's probably really tired now. Little old man. He's about to be 9 years old, y'all. Did I hear him? He's about to be 9 years old. So, that's my baby. That's my baby. He's a little old man, little grumpy old man sometimes. If he gets up, I was trying to see if he was gonna. I was trying to talk to see if he was gonna get up. He didn't get up. Little old man. May you have a blessed week. Everyone stay safe. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Missy. Have a blessed week. Stay safe. Thank you. All right, y'all. I will see you next time. I guess Nate doesn't want to come out, so bye, y'all.